Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. The creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great. And they'll distribute your podcast for you so that it can be heard everywhere on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, and many more. And you can easily make money from your podcast with no minimal listenership. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Welcome back to another episode. I am Keeler Bryson, your host and founder of Teachable Life Moments. You know, we all tend to take things for granted, especially the things that seem everlasting. When you look at your health or your family or just life in general, if we're not careful, we can take these things for granted, and it's because their presence usually is steady and dependable, and they've always been there for a long time, so we assume that they will always be there moving forward. But when we start to believe that something lasts forever, we usually can set ourselves up for disappointment and suffering because, as we've seen lately, nothing lasts forever. In fact, impermanence is a fundamental truth. And when we don't pay sufficient attention to something, we tend to underestimate its value, and then we forget to be grateful. You know, have you ever had something that you just kind of like didn't give it any thought, and then when it was gone, you began to think of all of the time you could have been spent paying attention to that thing and valuing that thing. And so the good news is that there's a way out. And one way that we begin to pay attention to things and begin to value just all of the things that we can think of is by strengthening our awareness and grounding ourselves, you know, in the present moment, so that we are more likely to value everything and are less likely to take things for granted. So today I want to talk to you about some things that we need to stop taking for granted. A lot of times when we look at our lives, we tend to focus sometime on all the things that we don't have. And as a result, it's like we're taking for granted all the things that we do have. And so when we begin to be thankful for the things that we do have, it'll cause us to just be more grateful, and we'll stop complaining, and then we'll start just seeing value in some of the small things. And you'd be surprised of how much, great things are happening for us, but we are just not paying attention because we're so focused on these other things. So one thing the first thing that I want to point out that we need to stop taking for granted, and this is for my millennials, because, you know, quite often when you have a conversation with millennials, one of the number one things that they are concerned about is getting married or finding that special someone in their life. And so, number one, I want to encourage you to stop taking being single for granted. And I know you're saying, no, Keeler, being single, you know, is that really a blessing? Yes, it's a blessing. You know, marriage is not a race. And there is no reason for you to feel pressured into finding the right kind of love. You know, everyone has, you know, a different deadline in life. And sometimes we've got to surrender to that fact. Surrender to the fact that a marriage is no race, and that you don't have to be married by a certain time. You know, God already has that figured out. And quite honestly, it's not going to happen until His designated time. So in the meantime, you need to enjoy the freedom that you have while you're still single. There are a whole lot of things that you could be doing while you're single, because I'm here to tell you, once you become married or just in a relationship, a committed relationship, it's going to take some of your time. You're not going to have that freedom, as much freedom as you had being single, because now you've got to cater to the person that you're in relationship with. You got to spend time together. You got to bond and get to know each other. And then certainly if you're married, then there are a whole nother level of responsibilities that you have to take care of. And so enjoy being single and be grateful for being single, because whether you believe it or not, and contrary to popular belief, being single is a blessing. Be thankful, because this is giving you a time to get to know yourself. Being single is giving you a time to build up the things that need to be in place when you get into a great relationship, so that that'll be like one less thing that you're having to struggle and have challenges with. For example, money or credit issues or whatever. Being single is the time now to work on that, to build up a substantial savings account, to pay off some debt or what have you, or to get educated, go to school. And those are some things that you could be doing. Number two, the next thing that we need to not or stop taking for granted is your parents' advice. Yes. This is a big one, because so many times when we're growing up, we get tired of hearing our parents' advice. And it's like, I don't want to hear it, Mom. I don't want to hear it, Dad, is what we're thinking in our head. Because surely you're not saying it out loud to your parents. That would be disrespectful, right? But we've got to realize that your parents are not going to always be there to love and guide you and to support you in everything you do. You will never know when you're going to lose the loved ones that you love. So you have to learn how to unplug, and just enjoy the moments that you spend with your parents. You have to learn how to listen to them, when they're giving you advice, because at the end of the day, most parents, all they want is the best for us. And they're trying to help us. And I know sometimes it doesn't come across in a way that we appreciate. Maybe the tone is a little off or what have you. But at the end of the day, it's because our parents want the best for us. Now, I am almost 50 years old, and my mom still will give me advice, whether it's about my daughters or just life in general. And so I'm here to tell you, it's not going to stop. And when that happens, I just know that my mom is loving on me at that moment. And you've got to realize that your parents are doing the same. No matter what happens to you in this world, your parents will always be there to accept you and welcome you with their open arms. And so therefore, we've got to stop taking them for granted. Because once your parents leave, it's like no returning back, that you can't talk to them anymore. That's when you'll be longing for that advice from them and trying to think of what would Mom say, or what would Dad want me to do, or what have you. So spend that time with them and talk to them and get all you can from them. And my daughters and I, we were helping my mom with the holiday dinner. And my mom was in there, she was really sharing all her recipes with us. And we were like trying to remember it in our head. But I was telling my daughters, I was like, we've got to get this stuff written down in a book. And, things like that, because when they're gone, you'll be like wondering, how did she fix that? What was the recipe? Spend that time and really bask and pay attention to what they're saying to you. The third thing is to stop taking for granted is our health. Health is your wealth. And we need to take good care of our health and not abuse it. And I know a lot of times, especially when we're young, we abuse our bodies in a way that, sometimes we end up suffering for it as we get older. But stop taking your health for granted. And I know when we're young, especially, we feel invincible and we don't think nothing can stop us. We think that we're never going to come down with this disease or this situation. But you never know. And so as a result, we want to be good to our bodies. We want to make sure that we're getting enough sleep. We want to make sure that we're not eating too much junk food, unhealthy things. We want to make sure that we are getting physical activity. We want to make sure that we are keeping our mindset healthy as well, because the older we get, the body it slows down on healing quickly. When you're young, your body can heal so fast, from any kind of pain and sickness. But I'm here to tell you, the older you start getting, that changes. And your body isn't going to have the same level of strength and vigor or rigor that you've had in the past years. And so you want to make sure that you begin to nurture yourself and take care of your health. Make sure that you're drinking enough water. Include the fruits and the vegetables. It's amazing. I'm noticing even in my life that I think over the last 3 years, I want to say, I just started noticing a change in the way that I was eating. I remember when I was young, my grandparents, they would eat all this stuff that the types of things that when you're a child, you're like, oh, that's gross. Like my granny would eat Raisin Bran and she would have fruit and things like that. Fruit, and when you're a child, you don't want fruit. You want candy and chips and things like that. But the older I get, I find I'm doing the same thing. Vegetables, my granny would always have like peas and squash and that's what I'm finding myself doing. And it's because it's a shame some of us wait until we get old and age, decide that we want to be good to our bodies with fruits and vegetables and water and limiting the sugar intake and the pork and even the beef. And, you just start changing because you want to live. And no one wants to spend their older years taking a bunch of medications and having to go to a bunch of doctor's appointments and my husband and I, we are determined that we are not going to live like that. We're going to take care of ourselves and each other so that we can just be like young forever. All right, number 4, the fourth thing that we need to stop taking for granted is our income. Yay! When you're young, now is the time to be banking your money, stacking your paper, as they say. Because, you have that health, that strength, that energy to work 2 jobs, and if you're young, hopefully you don't have a whole lot of debt. So you should have money to save and put aside because, you've been maybe managing your money so that your expenses are not out of control. Now, some people think, well, I don't make that much money, so I really can't save like I want. It doesn't matter whether you have a big check or small paycheck. What matters is how you circulate it. And I'm going to say circulate it instead of spending it because I'm of the mindset that we circulate money and it comes right back to us. So if you have a small paycheck or a big one, it's all in how you circulate it. You have to be mindful of the things that you buy, and then especially the things that we know we don't need. And I know the other day we were in the store and I saw, I think it was some cute cups or something. And I just had to say, I don't need any more cups. Matter of fact, not too long ago, a few weeks ago, I went through my kitchen and cleaned my cabinets out and was getting rid of dishes and cups and stuff that I haven't used in a long time. And it's so easy to go out and see these cute mugs and these cute cups. And I'm thinking, I had probably about 40 in there and I wasn't using all of them. I had to get rid of them. And so sometimes we got to know when to say no. I don't care how cute it is. Think about all the coffee cups, the cute coffee cups, mugs, and just cups that you have that you're just not using. Few people become financially stable, rich, millionaires. And the reason why is because a lot of people are not smart enough to save their money or to invest money in stocks or to use it to start a business or whatever. We've got to be smart enough to know how to grow our money instead of depleting our money. Stop taking your income for granted. Learn how to make that money work for you. Go get you some good life insurance while you're young. Get you some life insurance with a cash value option on there while you are young so that the rates will be affordable. And then you can lock them in. Put those policies on your children so that when they get older, there is a substantial amount of money in their cash value that you can give them or turn the policy over to them. It's time for us to be smart with working that money and that income. You would be surprised how much money you have made in the last 10 years. Go back through your income, look at your tax returns, and I want you to go back and add up all the money you've made since you've start working, or as far as back as you can go and find in a tax return. And you would be surprised how much money you have made to date in this lifetime of working. And when you see that, you're going to realize just how blessed you are, and probably how much for granted you have taken your income. I did that not too long ago, and I was blown away. When I realized that, I was like, God, I did not ask you for a big enough amount of income, because what I asked you for, I've already hit it a long time ago, and I just did not ask for. I didn't ask big enough. Okay, so stop taking that income for granted. Number 5, stop taking your closest friends for granted. We will lose friends the older we become. I know a lot of times in middle school, high school, we have all these friends. Everybody is our best friend. And, I told my daughters, I said, the older you get, you're going to outgrow friends. You're going to lose friends. Your goals and ambitions are not going to be the same. You start maturing and you just start realizing, I don't like this person anymore. It's not that you don't like them. It's just that your mindsets are different. And so I think that's some of the hardest things that a lot of time young people experience, is they think that they have to be friends with people a long, long, long time, even when they find out that that person is no longer healthy. But quite honestly, you can outgrow people. And these are people that you used to hang out with, and you be thinking, what happened? This person used to be so great to hang out with. But we all mature, and then some people don't mature. Some people mature for the better, and some people mature for the worse. And when you find out that they are into these things that are not healthy, you got to let them go. Now, when you choose your closest friends, these are the type of people that are by your side for better or worse. And they stay in your life until the end of time. And I'm here to tell you that you're not going to be able to have a whole lot of people that fit that category. I'm just going to be honest. Usually these for better or worse friends that's there until the end of time are far and few. And so when you find them, you don't want to take them for granted. Okay? You want to nurture that relationship, because we all need that closest friend where we can be honest with, we can be vulnerable with them. We can show them our wounds, and we know that they will not betray our trust and our confidence in them, and vice versa. We want to nurture those relationships, spend time with them, talk to them, be good to them, because we all need a close friend. Number 6, we want to stop taking our energy for granted. And, this is a big one. There are a lot of people out here that'll drain your energy like a Duracell battery. And they will drain all of the positivity you have inside of you. And you have to realize that you've got to put an end to that when you see that people are taking your energy for granted. They're not trying to get better, and you've got to realize that when you're going to stop taking your energy for granted, you've got to just come to the resolve that nobody is really entitled to your time and attention. Nobody. And then as a result, it's okay to be picky with the kind of people that you want to welcome in your life. I know I'm selective with my energy at this phase in my life, because I was sitting the other day during my spiritual maintenance session that I went through. I started back in, I think around the second week of December. And I had dedicated this time just to regroup, reset, to get clarity, and to just get cleared and decluttered in the inside of myself. And I just began to think about, how did I spend my 20s? How did I spend my 30s? How did I spend my 40s? And I'm thinking I spent my 20s just giving, serving. A lot of times at my detriment, leaving me in a negative balance inside. and just trying to please people and just trying to be that one that people could depend on. And I was like, I did that in my 20s, I did it in my 30s, and here I am in my late 40s, about to enter my 50s real soon. And I was like, at this point in my life, I'm not doing it anymore. It's all about me now. I've been there, done that, and I'm not doing it anymore. And I'm just gonna protect my energy, and I'm gonna, focus on my family even more, because when you're out giving, serving, whatever organization, committees, whatever, sometimes these jobs will drain you. Your family tends to suffer. And then when you get home, you don't have the energy to really pour into them like you desire or need to. Or you've poured out so much to others until when you need some encouragement, you may not have it because you have exhausted yourself, your energy on people that have drained you. And then they continue to drain you and never offer reciprocity. And so at this stage in my life, I have also decided that I am not wasting energy on situations that are not pouring equal or greater amounts of energy back into me. I guess that's the kind of thing that the mindset that happens when you're approaching 50. Every time I told someone, every time you approach the age that ends in a zero, there's a shift that I've noticed that happens. I noticed it when I got close to 30. I noticed it when I got close to 40, and I'm feeling that thing again right now since I'm getting close to 50. And it's a wonderful thing, honey. So don't take your energy for granted. Stop it, because when the real battles come, you want to have enough energy to fight. And if you're wasting your energy on these petty things, useless things, then when the real battle comes, you don't even have the energy to fight and win. Number 7, we want to stop taking our surroundings for granted. Sometimes we are so busy, we don't even have time to stop to appreciate something beautiful that's around us. Everybody is not the type of person that wants to watch the sun go down at the end of the day. I am. I love being by the ocean. That's why usually when we take our vacation, we're going somewhere near the water, because I like getting up super early in the morning, watching the sunrise. I like to go out and let the sand get in my feet. I like the waves rushing up on my feet, even though that water is cold. I love it. I love being out on my deck, hearing the birds singing in the morning, watching the squirrels jump from the tree limbs. Is something about watching it. I love watching the big birds way up in the sky soaring with their wings extended, and they're just soaring like in slow motion. And just doing that is so calming to me. And so I am one that I'm going to stop and I'm going to look at the flower that's beautifully, the color of it is so powerful, because it helps me to give thanks to the creator that created such a beautiful thing. And a lot of times when we stop and pay attention to the things that are happening around us, these are some of the most beautiful moments that you will experience, because they're free. It don't cost you anything. And it's out of our control. We don't have anything to do with it being beautiful or majestic or whatever. And so there is no harm in slowing down sometime and taking time to connect with nature, just connecting with the things that God has created. You would be surprised at the things you can see when you just stop and pay attention and notice and are consciously tuned in. I've seen hummingbirds, something that you're not going to see very much. The red bird, the red robins, I have seen those. And that's a treat. That's a blessing when you see those. Or just seeing, the sky and the clouds in a certain position. Just slow down. Sometimes we're going too fast, trying to do too much. Number 8, we need to stop taking our jobs for granted. And I know people are going to be like, what? I do not want to hear that one. I hate my job, Keeler. Oh my goodness, that makes me laugh, because I have been in that place before where I didn't really care for, a job that I had. And it wasn't every day like that. We all will have that day where you like, I hate my job today. And I know there are some people out here, you hate your job every day. In fact, right now, you are at a job that you hate. Explanation point. But, you've got to think about, you remember when you didn't have that job and you were desperately looking for a job and that job hired you. They called you, they selected you out of all the other applicants that applied for that job. And when you got it, you were so happy. You were telling everybody about it. I got a job. I got the job. I'm going to be over here and I'm going to be making this amount of money. And this is my title. And these are all the benefits that they have. And then, just go back and remember that day when you first got it, how excited you were, and think about how that job has enabled you to pay your bills, to drive that car you drive, and to put groceries on your table, and is giving you the ability to learn a new skill set and to have a certain level of responsibility, which is lining you up and preparing you to make more money on your next job, because now you have even more skills and qualifications that you can list on your resume that's making you even more financially marketable. As in the workplace, in the job market. And so be grateful for your job. There are several things that we can list that are not good about a lot of these jobs. And sometimes, honey, we've just got to sit down and start writing out our list of things to be grateful for. Grateful that they provide health insurance, dental insurance, the 401k, which is another stream of income that you have working behind the scene. And, stop taking it for granted. Breathe in, breathe out, and just begin to see all the goodness and the blessings that you have, even with that job that you hate. Now, there will be a day in your life when you will find your dream job, and you've got to believe that it will be a job that you're going to feel excited to wake up to every morning. It will be the type of job that you're willing to invest a lot of time into. And it will be a place where you feel like you belong. And when that time comes, you want to be grateful and to never let the opportunity go, that, never basically take for granted the opportunity that has been given you. And even though you're in that job that you hate right now, if you stay committed to it, faithful to it, you're going to eventually find that dream job, even if you have to create it yourself. All right. In the meantime, be grateful, be thankful, and stop taking it for granted. The last thing, number 9, that you want to stop doing is taking your time for granted. So maybe right now you still have a lot of time in your hands, and but you know that you're not going to be here forever. That's the truth, right? You never know when your journey here on earth will come to an end. And we've been reminded of that recently with the tragic story that's been in the news. And so you want to live a life with no regrets. I know the other day, I think it was last Sunday, I went to lunch with 2 dear friends. And one of the things that we were talking about at the table was, what did it mean to live a life with no regrets? And what I want to ask you is the same question. What does living a life with no regrets mean with you? We've got to stop waiting for the right time to make a move, to say what we want to say, and to do what is in our heart or what our heart is telling us to do. We've got to really stop taking our time for granted, and we've got to take each waking moment we have as an opportunity for us to make a change in our situation, a change to be a positive change in the lives of others, and basically a positive change in the world. We only get one chance to live in this world. And so we don't want to hesitate to use the time that we have to make those bold choices to make a difference. And so those are my 9 things that I want to encourage you to stop taking for granted. As you go about the rest of this day, begin to just be grateful, be thankful, and list out the things that you have been taking for granted. Because maybe I did not list some of the things that are going on in your life. What are some things that you're taking for granted right now? One way to know is, what have you been complaining about a lot? Well, perhaps you've been taking that thing for granted. Take time to look at it and figure out what can you be thankful about. regarding that situation. All right, this is Keeler Bryson, and you've been listening to the Teachable Life Moments with Keeler Bryson podcast. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you haven't already done so, please rate, review, comment, share the podcast. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for listening.